contrary, it is a sign of a society's development in accordance with the spirit of the Quran to give women equal shares with men. In other words, the spirit of the Quran has determined the bottom limits with those commands to prevent going backwards, but it has never put a limit for progressive practices, according to my understanding. It is therefore that there is no need for another book to come after the Quran. And in this respect, Muhammad has been the last of Nabis, since he explained human rights without requiring any limitation for progress and because it is open for future advancement of understanding. The Quran that reveals the system in terms of afterlife conditions and of knowing Allah through the medium of Risalat has improved and developed human rights as much as possible within the existing conditions of those days, and also determined them as the bottom limits without preventing further advancement in due course of time through the medium of Nubuwwah. As far as I understand, that basic principle is the spirit of the Quran, which provides that magnificent book with eternal validity without any necessity for another book to come. Yes, if we could understand this, we can now see that it is important to be able to read the Quran. Some people fail to understand the spirit of the Quran, or they misunderstand it. Now we need to go further to make it clear. In our day, being able to read the words in Arabic letters even without knowing their meaning is assumed to be reading the Quran. Some people, however, consider reading the translations of the Quran as reading the Quran itself. These are in fact only the preliminary stages of reading the Quran. Yet in my opinion, such forms of reading cannot be regarded as reading the Quran. As we have considered reading the system before, we can also consider reading the Quran. How is it possible to really read the Quran? Reading the Quran is only possible through perceiving the spirit of the Quran. What does it mean to perceive the spirit of the Quran? What is the purpose that the Holy Quran has been revealed for mankind? What kind of benefits has the Holy Quran been revealed to provide people with? What kind of a life has the Holy Quran been revealed to prepare mankind for? What kind of qualities of human being has the Holy Quran been revealed to inform people of? Has the Holy Quran been revealed with an aim to limit, to fix and lock people into a form of life and seal the doors for advancement? Or is it aimed at showing them the ways of advancing steadfastly, to provide them with the rights that they are not aware of or that have been taken away from them, and to inform them of the ways to live as a consequence with the faculties of being caliphs, men and women alike? Do the signs in the Holy Quran that were revealed involve an aim that man should live showing respect for the rights of fellow human beings, yet live a progressive life permanently? Or have they been revealed aiming towards a regressive life for mankind? If we could answer these questions correctly, we will have begun perceiving the spirit of the Quran, which leads us to unlock and open the door of reading the Holy Quran. Do not misunderstand us. As a result of our misunderstandings, the Quran has been locked in chains and turned into a holy book from ancient times. Yet with regards to its spirit and its goals, the Quran upholds such properties as to enlighten and guide mankind so long as humanity exists, that it is therefore a book above all times. Restraining the Holy Quran with the progressions and reforms it brought for the societies as it came, and urging that its service for humanity has ended up then, and it's outdated for us, therefore it's a book of those ancient times, is an injustice to the Quran. Such a view is a result of the inability to perceive the spirit of the Quran and to read the Quran. While the Quran suggests giving 1/4 of your possessions within the framework of zakat, it does not stop us from giving 1/20 of them. This is emphasized as the minimum amount to be a bottom limit. While having no inheritance rights, women were allowed to have half of the share given to a man as a minimum amount. But if you decided to give a share equal to that of a man, it would never contradict with the spirit of the Quran. The Quran does not restrict this. It even welcomes that in accordance with its spirit. I mean that the rights given in the Quran need to be considered as the minimum that cannot be taken backwards. Neither is there a sign in the Quran nor a word of Rasulullah telling that a progress cannot be made. As a result of our failure in understanding the spirit of the Quran, we fail to read the Quran, and thus, holding on to its surface verbalism, we miss the message given to us. Besides limiting the Holy Quran with our lack of understanding, we dare to put forth baseless conclusions that the Quran cannot be applied to our days as if it were the truth. When people need to create a law, it is the spirit of law that people demand it to be established. An adequate fashion of rendering is determined in connection with that spirit, that is the prospect of thought, and so it is put to words. Therewith an article of law is brought into existence. When a judge needs to exercise this law, he establishes a connection between the given event and his own perspective of judicious reasoning about that event, and he makes a judgment based on the main reason that has formed the law. If the judge sets his opinion about an event by taking the law within the surface verbalism, rather than respecting the spirit of that law, he is most likely to misjudge, because a judicial decision must be based not on the literal aspect of a law, but on its spirit, its soul. Laws exist along with their spirits. If they are taken in mere verbalism, deviations from the goal will take place. The conscience of a judge is there to help the judicious reasoning of an event be based on the spirit of the law. Otherwise, we would upload the articles of laws onto computers and let them pass judgments. In the same way, to be able to read the Quran, it is necessary to consider the purpose for which the verses regarding a particular event were revealed. The Holy Quran has made the greatest revolutions in the history of mankind. Due to our inability in perceiving the spirit of the Holy Quran, looking at only the words of the Quran on the surface and commenting that that is all it has given to humankind, it doesn't give anything beyond this, but it brings restrictions, is the greatest of blindness and darkness. It cannot be described other than as an ulterior motive to deviate the reality by imposing such a perspective as if Islam affirms slavery, while in fact it regards deliverance of a slave as one of the greatest spiritual practices, and so aims at ending slavery in a society where it was common. It is an enormous unfairness done to the religion of Islam, and is a plain result of not understanding the spirit of the Holy Quran, to disapprove it by assuming it as an assertive and coercive religious understanding. Whereas Islam does not condone using force in any point except putting an end to violations on human rights, and also despite the known sign to the Rasul that you are not one to force them. Human rights and democracy can only be found within the principles of the religion of Islam in the most comprehensive sense, because the Holy Quran does not allow pressure to be put on anybody in any regard. The Holy Quran advises mankind on essential ideas they need so that their future may bring them peace and blessings. It notes that those who practice them will find reward, and warns those who do not about the regrets that they will fall into in the afterlife because of the conditions that will be encountered, and that they will never be able to turn back from there and nor made up for the past. After this point, neither a person nor a government has an authority to force anybody on any practice with respect to the spirit of Islam and the spirit of the Quran. Every person will appreciate those proposals with their own mind and reasoning, and will practice as they wish without anyone's pressure, and will finally reach their result. Ignorant and unaware people's false convictions resulting from their inability to read the spirit of the Quran can never be connected with Islam. No excuse can be valid for staying away from Islam and the Quran because of following false interpretations of those who cannot read the Holy Quran. There is no room for excuses in the system. Every individual is responsible of reading the Quran and learning the religion of Islam personally for their own future. Showing the false practices of other Muslims in your surroundings to make excuses for your mistakes will not help. Learning the religion by following the Quran rather than by following the Muslims is essential for everybody.